Hey everybody, this is Polish Up Your Polish Lesson 1. Today we're gonna finally talk about Polish language, starting off with, of course, Polish alphabet. Let's look at some general informations about Polish alphabet. It consists of 32 letters, 23 consonant, and 9 vowels. What's the most important thing is that Polish language is basically a phonetic language. So it means that one letter represents one sound, not only in alphabet, but also when it comes to words or sentences. So it basically is like when you spell like four letters and then you put them together to make a word, you can actually read those letters together and then the word appears. So maybe, of course, it's not that easy always, but basically it works like that. So this is a great advantage for those who actually learning languages like I don't know, German or Dutch or plenty other languages or Scandinavian languages when you need to consider the vowel length and so on and so forth. In Polish language, it is not. Like I've mentioned before, all sounds, all vowels are short, or actually of a normal length, I should say. But well, here that's how it is. So we're not. I'm not gonna talk about those length thing anymore. So let's take care of Polish alphabet and look. Let's look at all Polish letters. Here we go. As I've mentioned, there are 33 letters, of course, 23 consonants and 9 vowels. You can look at those letters here, and you might see that there are some that actually you can recognize all the letters, but some of them have different marks. And the main thing is that each mark, so like with letter A and the letter that's following it, or letter C or letter E, and then the other letter E, kind of, they all have different sounds. They all represent different sounds. Maybe except for consonants that have that kind of a, I don't know, a slash over them, because they are denoting something actually close to something else. But I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later on. But you need to remember that each letter actually represents a different sound. So if there's letter A and there's a letter A with a hook, the letter A with a hook is definitely a different sound. So you need to remember that for starters. But we're gonna start with something really easy. So the similarities of Polish and English language. So let's look at the examples here. Now, before we even start, this is the those are the letters we're about to take care of in this lesson. But this is just, you know, you'll see them anyway. Now, okay, here we go. As you can see, letter B. In Polish, it is basically pronounced the same way, but I'm not gonna teach you the way the alphabet spells. It's like A, B, C, and so on. In Polish language, you do actually make kind of a syllable of all the letters, but instead of that, I want to tell you how the letters are actually pronounced when they appear in words. Because just look at the English word. It's the word brick, right? But the letter B pronounced itself is B, and you do not say like B Rick or be anyone. But in this word, in this particular word, you do not pronounce them as B Rick, but you pronounce the word as brick. And here it is. That's the letter that appears in Polish as well. B, letter B. And try to pronounce in order to make this as most the closest actually sound of the Polish language. Try to pronounce those those English words, of course, with starting with the letter we're looking for, and then stopping at them. I know it might sound a little bit strange, but yeah, just like brick, and just say like it's something like that. Okay, try to pronounce this letter just like that. Okay, so the first letter is B, B, like brick. That's fine. The next letter is D, like drunk. D, drunk. D, yeah, something like that. F like flame, f, f. No, that's voiceless sound, of course. Try yourself those letters. Those are actually, if you pronounce those letters the way you pronounce them in English, it won't be wrong. And the basic thing is, before we get any further, I want to tell you one thing. Do not try, actually, at the very beginning, at least, to pronounce those letters exactly as they appear in Polish, because you might want to do the exact sound, but as long as you distinguish B from D, D from F, and F from plenty of other different letters, you will be understood. All right. So this is something you need to consider, but basically it's not the point that you just need to make the exact sound. You remember certain things that I've mentioned before, that you do not try to make longer sounds, because it sounds unnatural in Polish. But when it comes to consonants, just try to make as close as possible, and you will be clearly understood. Okay, so let's move on. G, like grow, right? G, game, grow, right? Row. Just leave the row aside, and then the letter G. H, home. H, h, letter H, h, home, right? H, all right, home. Letter K, like key, right? Letter K and key. K, letter K. K, right? Simple as that. Alright, let's move on. Letter L, leave, loan. Let's move on. So let's as L, and move on. Letter M, Mike, more, M, right? Simple as that. Letter N, 9. Very simple. 9, none, nothing but Polish language, alright? 9. Letter N. Okay, let's move on. Letter P. Price. Leave the rice behind, and then letter P. Without that puff. Maybe without that puff. P. Letter P. Alright? Without that puffing sound that appears in English. Now, letter R. I've marked that with an asterisk because it's not exactly the same sound as in English, but it appears in both languages, and this is like this kind of a rolling sound that appears in I believe Scottish language. R, r. You need to adjust your language, your tongue to that. It's not rice, but it would be pronounced in Polish as rice. It sounds funny, but like I said, it's almost exactly the same sound. But well, I've put it here because I believe it's easy recognizable, and while learning different languages, you do actually learn about that r sound. Okay, r, r. This is rice, not rice. Rice in English, but in Polish it would be like rice, although not exactly. At least the first letter. Letter S, stop. Well, stop. We're not gonna stop yet, but S like stop. Just try to make the same sound as in English, and you will be understood. All right, let's move on. Letter T, trick. Of course, t, t. Unvoiced sound, t, t. Trick. They're the same as in English, of course. Now, there's letter W, and it is pronounced, as you can see, a little bit different than in Polish language, because in Polish language there's no letter V, the English equivalent of letter V. There's no such letter in Polish. So for English sound of letter V, there's a Polish W. And the other letter for English W stands for is a Polish letter. So you need to remember that W in Polish is a V in English. Okay, it's vote, V. Simple as that. Vote. Okay, and the letter Z for zebra, Z, Z. Letter Z, Z in Polish. Very, very simple. Okay, so we went through the consonants and look at the vowels here, because those are actually the most important that you meet in Polish language. Those basic 5 vowels. The letter A. Well, maybe it's not the best example, but because in the word apparently, the letter A at the beginning is very, very short. It's very delicate. It seems like you're saying this word with apparently, but there's something a little bit, a little bit of a sound at the beginning of this word. And this is a letter A, like a little bit wider. You need to put your mouth a little bit wider. A, apparently. You don't say apparently, but it's like apparently, but something like that. A. It's not A. Never A. All right. Never A. It's A. Always the same sound. Okay. Letter E. Enter. E. Once again, your mouth are a little bit wider. Open a little bit wider. E. The word, the letter I in Polish, me. E. All right. E. Now letter O. Never O and never I, never E, never A, because those are long sounds. In Polish, they are always short. Okay. Letter O stands for Polish, of course. O. Letter O. This is Polish O. All right. And then you have letter U, which stands for the word you. Of course, it's U. U. Not exactly the same sound, of course, but U. And then, as you can see, letter O with this slash over it represents the same sound. So it's only about orthography. We can say that. Okay. So letter U and the other letter, which also U. If Polish refers to that as the one to the left is so-called an open U or open U, and the one to the right is closed, because it just appears like it is, right? Just look at those letters, you can recognize them. So once again, let's go through the basic vowels of Polish alphabet, starting from the top. A, E, I, O, U. And letter U appears in two different versions. Okay, alright, so that's it for lesson number 1. We went through the basic of the basics of Polish language, but I believe this is, if you go through this lesson like 2 or 3 times, you will be able to understand and repeat all Polish sounds, at least those that I've mentioned. And then we can go through some other things, and in lesson number 2 we're gonna talk about letters that the sounds that actually appear in English, but they have a different they represent different letters in Polish language. But for now, just try to pronounce those letters as close as possible. Do not actually make do not try to make any really tight and close to Polish language. That's not the point, as you may know from this lesson, all the letters in Polish appear in actually different sounds. You can distinguish one from another. So if you try to make at least as close as possible sound to the one that I've made, you will be understood. Okay? Alright. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for watching. This was lesson number 1, the very beginning of Polish language, but it's gonna get tougher and tougher every lesson, but I believe that it will pay off. I mean, the knowledge of Polish language allow you to actually jump into plenty of Slavic languages, and I believe this is a great advantage. But for now, we're not talking about Croatian, Slovene, Serbian, Bulgarian, or even Russian. We're talking about Polish language, and we want to learn Polish language. At least you want to learn the language, and I want to give you a decent amount of assistance and help as much as possible, of course. Thanks again for watching. See you next time with lesson number 2. Bye bye.